In writing the script, every step of the way the question was when is this going to fall apart? When is the story going to disappear? And when am I going to lose my grasp on it?
A fictional band. One song, one shot at everything. And somehow, nearly 30 years later, people are still talking about it. That Thing You Do came out in 1996, flopped at the box office, got buried. And then something strange happened, something that Hollywood never planned for, something that turned a forgotten film into a full-blown cult obsession. And trust me, by the time we get to fact number 1, you are going to understand exactly why this movie refused to die. We are counting down 21 of the weirdest, most surprising, and most jaw-dropping facts about the 1996 film That Thing You Do, Tom Hanks's directorial debut, a love letter to 1960s pop music, and one of the most secretly fascinating productions in Hollywood history. We're talking hidden Easter eggs layered so deep even hardcore fans missed them. A real-life discovery story that reads like a movie script of its own. Band training so intense it fooled people standing right next to them on set. And one backstage disaster involving a lizard, a mouth, and a pair of very unfortunate red pants that you will not forget anytime soon. Before we get into it, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now because we drop videos exactly like this every single week. And trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming. Let's get into it. Fact 21. Tom Hanks wrote this script during one of the busiest seasons of his life. It is 1994. Tom Hanks has just finished Forrest Gump. Instead of resting, he finds himself trapped in an endless awards circuit, promoting Philadelphia and Forrest Gump simultaneously.
Hello, my name's Forrest Gump. I could eat about 1.5 million of these.
Back-to-back interviews, ceremony after ceremony. Most people would have collapsed. Tom Hanks started writing a screenplay. He later said he needed something in his head completely removed from Oscar races and box office conversations. So in between hotel rooms, long flights, and press junkets, he began sketching out what would become That Thing You Do. His wife read early drafts and told him he had too much going on, joking that he was writing like Scorsese running wild. He kept refining it and finished the script over the course of that single relentless tour. What drove him? The answer comes later, and it involves a Halloween night and some very unexpected advice. Fact 20. Over 300 songs were submitted just to find the title track. The song at the center of this movie did not come from a famous songwriter. It came from a competition. Over 300 songs were submitted for the chance to become the centerpiece of a Tom Hanks film, and producers were looking for something almost impossible. A song that genuinely sounded like a 1964 #1 hit, while also landing with a mid-1990s cinema audience. Adam Schlesinger was a 28-year-old bass player, tipped off by music publishers about the competition. He worked on 3 separate versions, recorded a demo, and sent it in. When producers played all the entries back to back, the other songs ranged from Who-inspired rock to Zeppelin-style heaviness. Then Adam's track came on, and the room stopped. Actor Ethan Embry later described the moment as electric, reportedly smacking his hands together just remembering it. The song earned an Academy Award nomination, a Golden Globe nomination, and climbed to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. In 2020, at just 52 years old, Adam Schlesinger passed away from COVID-19.
Emmy and Grammy Award-winning musician and songwriter Adam Schlesinger died after contracting COVID-19.
A man who wrote one of the most infectious pop songs ever composed for a film, and far too few people know his name. Now you do. Fact 19. Tom Everett Scott almost lost the lead role because he looked too much like a young Tom Hanks. Hanks had his script, his world, his characters. Then he watched Tom Everett Scott's audition tape and hit a wall. The guy looked like a younger version of himself. Would audiences spend the entire film comparing them instead of watching the story? Then his wife watched the tape and settled it immediately. She told Hanks he didn't look that much like him, and more importantly, he was really good. Scott had grown up watching Hanks on television and told him during the audition that the character of Guy felt parallel to his own life, just in music instead of acting. That sincerity cannot be faked. Hanks called Scott personally to offer him the role, and Scott later called it one of the coolest moments of his life. The resemblance that almost cost him the part ended up making the film feel more cohesive than anyone had planned. Fact 18. Charlize Theron's path to this movie starts in a bank queue. It is 1994. Charlize Theron is 18. Her dream of becoming a professional dancer has just been destroyed by a knee injury, and she is standing inside a Hollywood bank trying to cash a check from her South African account. The teller refuses. She loses it. A full-blown meltdown. Tears. Raised voice. The works. Standing behind her is talent manager John Crosby, the man who once discovered René Russo at a Rolling Stones concert. He watches the meltdown, walks up to her, hands her his card, and says, "I don't know what you do, but if you're interested in acting, call me." 2 years later, she is auditioning for That Thing You Do. Hanks watched her and said she had it. This girl was going to be somebody. He even wrote a personal note inside her copy of the script. "No matter what, I will always claim to have discovered you." She went on to win the Academy Award for Best Actress for Monster.
And the Oscar goes to Charlize Theron for Monster.
A bank meltdown became a legacy. You cannot make this up. Fact 17. Nobody in the band could actually play their instruments when filming began. When you watch the Wonders perform, the energy, the physicality, the stage conviction, how much of it was real? Almost none of it, at the start, except for Steve Zahn and Ethan Embry, who had some teenage experience with guitar and bass. The cast were not musicians. Tom Everett Scott had never touched a drum kit. Jonathan Shake did not know how to play guitar at all. So, the production put them through 6 weeks of band camp, 5 hours a day, 6 weeks straight. By the time cameras rolled, the transformation was so convincing that extras on set genuinely believed the band was performing live. They were not. Everything was mimed to pre-recorded tracks. But Tom Everett Scott later joked that the cast had heard that one song so many times it stopped sounding like music and became something closer to a reflex. Fact 16. Steve Zahn walked into the audition not knowing who was waiting for him. Steve Zahn's manager told him there was a script reading, "Come in, run through some pages, nothing major." He gave him a fake name for the writer. Zahn showed up expecting a room full of unknowns. Tom Hanks was sitting there. Despite the shock, Zahn delivered what Hanks later described as the performance of ages. He nailed every comedic beat and made Hanks laugh his head off. The casting director had seen Zahn in a stage play alongside Ethan Hawke and had always believed he was perfect for Lenny. And because he walked into that room without knowing whose movie it was, he had none of the usual audition nerves, just a completely natural, unguarded performance. The role was sealed before he fully understood what he had just walked into. Fact 15. The character names are a secret tribute to the Apollo missions. Tom Hanks has never hidden his obsession with space, but most viewers have no idea he embedded it directly into the film's character names. Jimmy Mattingly is named after Ken Mattingly, the Apollo 13 astronaut pulled from the mission just before launch.
Astronaut Ken Mattingly, in growing America's space program, served as the command module pilot for Apollo 13.
Due to measles exposure, he never even got sick, but lost his seat anyway. Lenny Hayes takes his surname from Fred Hayes, the Apollo 13 lunar module pilot. Hanks' own character, Mr. White, is named after Andy White, the session drummer who stepped in for Ringo Starr on the original Beatles recording of Love Me Do. And during the Hollywood television showcase sequence, there is a fictional character named Gus Grissom, a nod to astronaut Virgil Gus Grissom, played in the film by Bryan Cranston. 3 hidden tributes layered across the cast names alone, with a 4th tucked into a background character. Fact 14. Tom Hanks composed 2 of the film's songs himself. Most people know the music in That Thing You Do was all original. Fewer know that 2 of the compositions came from the director himself. Hanks wrote the opening number, Loving You Lots and Lots, credited to the fictional Norm Worster Singers, a group he also invented. It is a pitch-perfect spoof of early 1960s AM radio soft pop, drawing on the style of Mitch Miller. He also wrote the jazz drum solo Lenny performs, called I'm Spartacus. The man who had just won his second consecutive Best Actor Oscar walked onto this film having written the screenplay, hand-selected the cast, and composed 2 of the tracks, and never once made a big deal out of any of it.
Fact 13. Every single song in the film is an original composition. Most period films set in the 1960s lean on licensed tracks. Hanks chose not to, for 2 reasons. Licensing Beatles-era hits would have consumed a huge portion of the budget, and he had just finished Forrest Gump, a film packed with iconic archive music. This time, he wanted something entirely his own. Every note in That Thing You Do was composed
Specifically for this movie, not one pre-existing hit was licensed. The result is a 1,964-set story, where the music feels authentic to the era, but belongs entirely to this film. The soundtrack peaked at number 21 on the Billboard 200. Fact 12. Bryan Cranston's tiny cameo connects directly to his later career. In 1996, Bryan Cranston was a working TV actor, best known for playing the dentist Tim Whatley on Seinfeld. His appearance in That Thing You Do lasts moments. He plays Lieutenant Colonel Virgil Gus Grissom in the Hollywood television showcase sequence. Blink and you miss it. Tom Hanks did not miss it. 2 years later, he cast Cranston as Buzz Aldrin in the HBO miniseries From the Earth to the Moon. Then, years after that, Cranston became one of the most acclaimed television actors alive for playing Walter White in Breaking Bad. In That Thing You Do, Tom Hanks plays a character named Mr. White. That is not a coincidence anyone planned, but it is the kind of full-circle moment that feels like the universe making a point. Fact 11. The bass player has no name, and that was completely intentional. Throughout the entire film, the band's bass player is never given a first name, a last name, or any nickname that sticks. Lenny randomly guesses Tobias at one point, but it is treated as a joke. His official screen credit reads simply, TB Player. Hanks built this in deliberately. In the world of one-hit wonder bands, background musicians are frequently treated as interchangeable, present when needed, invisible otherwise. The nameless bass player is a statement about that reality. Ethan Embry played the role and filmed his final scene on a Friday. That Sunday, he walked onto a different set to play Rusty Griswold in National Lampoon's Vegas Vacation, from the least-named character in one film to one of the most recognizable teenage roles in American comedy, inside a single weekend. Fact 10. The fictional Playtone Records became a real company. In the film, the Wonders get signed to Playtone Records, a fictional label run by the slick Mr. White. 2 years after the movie came out, Tom Hanks made it real. In 1998, he and producing partner Gary Goetzman launched Playtone as an actual production company and record label. The projects it has produced since: Band of Brothers, The Pacific, From the Earth to the Moon, My Big Fat Greek Wedding, Charlie Wilson's War, Big Love, The Polar Express, Work on the Ein, Sopranos, and Bring It On. A fictional label invented for a story about a one-hit wonder became one of the most quietly influential production companies in American entertainment. Fact 9. 3 members of the Hanks family appear in the film. Colin Hanks, then 18, made his very first film appearance here, playing an NBC page who escorts Faye, played by Liv Tyler, to her seat at the Hollywood television showcase. He went on to build a genuine career of his own in Orange County, Dexter, Fargo, and more. Tom's daughter, from his first marriage, Elizabeth, has a cameo as the bored girl in the dress shop, and Tom's wife appears as Marguerite, a cocktail waitress at the Blue Spot Club, the scene where Guy meets legendary musician Del Paxton. 3 members of the same family, woven into one directorial debut. Fact 8. A Halloween Night,
Washington, D.C.
is part of why this movie exists. Tom Hanks is out trick-or-treating in Washington,
D.C.
with Sean Penn, Robin Wright, and Arnold Schwarzenegger. As they walk, Penn tells him every actor should direct at least one film, just to find out how brutally hard the job really is. Penn had just come off The Indian Runner and had a new respect for directors. Hanks took it seriously. When the Forrest Gump press tour gave him pockets of unstructured time, hotel rooms, long flights, he used every moment to write. The script for That Thing You Do was a direct result of that Halloween conversation. One offhand comment between friends on a dark October night became a cult classic film. Fact 7. The title song had to work for two completely different eras at once. Adam Schlesinger's challenge was almost impossible to describe simply. Write a song that sounds like a genuine 1964 #1 hit, authentic chord progressions, production style, melodic simplicity, while also working for a 1996 cinema audience in the year grunge was dying. And within the film itself, the song had to exist in multiple forms: slow ballad, upbeat rocker, county fair set, national TV performance, and a miserable lounge version in Pittsburgh. Same composition every time, recognizable but recontextualized. Schlesinger nailed it so completely that the song actually charted, reaching #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. That is not pastiche, that is a real hit. Fact 6. Jonathan Demme brought his entire Silence of the Lambs crew to a film about a pop band. Tom Hanks and Jonathan Demme had worked together on Philadelphia, the film that earned Hanks his first Academy Award. When Hanks finished the script for That Thing You Do, he approached Demme directly and asked him to produce it. Demme agreed, joining the production team alongside Gary Gutzman and Edward Saxon. But here is where it gets genuinely extraordinary. Demme did not just bring his name and his relationships to the project. He brought his team. Tak Fujimoto, the cinematographer behind The Silence of the Lambs and The Sixth Sense, served as director of photography on That Thing You Do. Richard Chu, the editor whose credits include Star Wars, A New Hope, and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, handled the editing. This is a light, joyful pop music comedy, a film about a fictional one-hit wonder band from Erie, Pennsylvania, and the people behind the camera are the same people who brought you some of the most technically accomplished films in Hollywood history. Demme also gave himself a cameo playing the director of the cheesy beach film Weekend at Party Pier, in which the Wonders also appear. For a first-time director, Hanks had assembled one of the most elite production crews working in American cinema at that exact moment. Fact 5. The Ambassador Hotel, one of LA's most haunted and historic locations, was a key filming site. By 1996, the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles had been closed for 7 years. It had once hosted presidents, celebrities, and the Academy Awards ceremony itself. It was also the site where Senator Robert F. Kennedy was assassinated in 1968.
John F. Kennedy, the president, by an assassin's bullet. The Ambassador Hotel, Los Angeles, at the moment of his greatest political triumph.
When filming began on That Thing You Do, the hotel was being used almost exclusively as a film set, a grand, empty relic that directors could dress however they needed. Several of the film's most pivotal scenes were shot there. The band's triumphant arrival after their record charts, Guy's rambling late-night corridor conversations with Faye, Jimmy's furious decision to quit the band, which plays out right there in the hotel lobby. By 2005, the Ambassador was demolished. On the same site now stand the Robert F. Kennedy Community Schools. Other key scenes were shot at a completely different kind of landmark, the actual studio stage where The Price is Right was filmed. The Hollywood television showcase sequence was performed on the same stage where contestants had been spinning wheels for decades. Two Los Angeles landmarks, one still standing, one gone, both embedded in a film about temporary fame. Fact 4. A sick iguana, mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, and a very bad day for Ethan Embry. Brace yourself for this one, because it is simultaneously one of the most horrifying and most absurd things to have happened on any film set in living memory. During production, an iguana named Salvador, presumably a set pet of some kind, became seriously ill. Ethan Embry, in a decision that defies conventional wisdom on multiple levels, decided to attempt to revive the lizard by giving it mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. The iguana's condition did not improve. Embry's condition, however, deteriorated significantly. Within hours, he had developed a severe case of dysentery, the kind that required the production team to lay a trail of cardboard from his trailer door all the way to the shower. so he could make the journey without an incident that would be impossible to walk back from. He was wearing his red costume pants at the time. It did not end well for the pants. Costume designer Colleen Atwood, a 4-time Academy Award winner,
and the Oscar goes to Colleen Atwood, Alice in Wonderland,
who has dressed characters for films from Edward Scissorhands to Chicago, was on set to witness the aftermath. Her professional assessment: Ethan Embry was not the first actor to have this kind of experience while in costume. That statement raises questions that we will leave unanswered. Fact 3. The extended edition revealed a secret about Mr. White that Tom Hanks never promoted. In 2007, Tom Hanks released an extended edition of That Thing You Do, a version that ran 39 minutes longer than the theatrical cut. He did not make a major press event of it. There were no interviews specifically promoting the new material. The extended version simply appeared, and audiences who sought it out discovered something that had been completely absent from the original film. Mr. White, Hanks's slick, mysterious, endlessly composed record label manager, is revealed to be gay. His partner, Lloyd, is played by former NFL star Howie Long. There is a scene in the extended cut where Guy returns to the hotel after a long night of drinking and finds Mr. White and Lloyd together, waiting anxiously for news about the band's upcoming television appearance. It is a quiet, matter-of-fact scene. It adds an entirely new dimension to a character who had always felt like he was carrying something beneath his polished surface, and for years, almost nobody knew about it. Hanks buried it in a home video extended edition with zero promotional fanfare. Many fans who loved the original film never discovered it. The ones who did stumbled onto it like finding a hidden room in a house they thought they knew completely. Think about what it means to have directed a film in 1996 where the record label boss is gay, and then to add that detail quietly, without asking for applause. Fact 2. VH1 accidentally turned a box office flop into a cult classic. In October 1996, That Thing You Do opened in cinemas across the United States and underperformed. It earned around $25.8 million domestically and just over $8.7 million internationally, a combined total of roughly $34.6 million worldwide. For a film with the expectations placed on Tom Hanks's directing debut, those numbers were a disappointment. Critics were mixed. The marketing struggled to define who the film was for. It came and went, and the industry largely moved on. And then VH1 got involved. Sometime in the late 1990s, the music television channel ran That Thing You Do on a near-continuous loop, 24 straight hours of the same film, repeating. At the time, cable television was how many people discovered films they had missed in cinemas. You flipped past a channel, something caught you, and suddenly you were 2 hours in and emotionally invested. That is what happened with That Thing You Do. People caught it mid-watch, went back to find the beginning, told someone else about it, and the cycle repeated. The cast later said the film had a life like nobody's business once cable and DVD took hold. By 2017, the cast was reuniting to perform the title song live on stage. By 2021, 25 years after its release, the film was being celebrated in retrospectives and anniversary events. What the box office wrote off, the audience reclaimed. And it was a 24-hour cable marathon that started all of it. Fact 1. The movie contains a Bible verse that almost nobody noticed. Here is the one that shocks people most. The one buried so deeply in the film that even obsessive fans who have seen it a dozen times often miss it entirely. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. At a key moment in the film, the camera briefly holds on a piece of text, barely noticeable, easy to dismiss as background detail or set dressing. But it is not random. The text reads, Luke 21:19. That verse from the Gospel of Luke reads, "In your patience possess ye your souls." Hino orth. Pause on that for a moment. A film about a band that burns bright, burns fast, and dissolves almost as quickly as it formed. A film about the price of overnight success and the cost of being in the wrong place at the right time. And hidden inside it, barely visible, almost never discussed, a single verse about the virtue of patience, about enduring. Tom Hanks did not draw attention to it. There was no commentary about it in interviews. It sits there, quietly, for those who look closely enough. Is it a statement about the band's fate? A piece of personal philosophy from the director? A message to anyone watching who feels like their moment has not come yet? That interpretation is yours to make, but the verse is there. It has always been there. And after everything you have just heard about this film, the hidden Apollo tributes, the secret gay storyline, the songwriter who never got enough credit, the iguana incident, the cable channel that saved it from obscurity, does it really surprise you that Tom Hanks would hide something that meaningful in plain sight? This movie has always had more going on beneath the surface than it was ever given credit for. And maybe that is exactly the point. And that is 21 facts about that thing you do that most people have never heard. The secrets, the disasters, the deliberate decisions, and the accidents that shaped one of the most underrated films of the 1990s. Here is what I want to know from you. Which one of these facts hit the hardest? Was it Adam Schlesinger's story? The Bible verse that nobody talks about? Or something else entirely? Drop it in the comments right now. I read every single one. If this video gave you something you did not expect, hit the like button and share it with someone who loves movies, because there is nothing better than being the person who sends a friend something they had no idea existed. Subscribe if you have not already. We are not done. Not even close. I will see you in the next one.